topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV, where we bring you educational information from top local experts in the fields of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Now sit back and listen to experts in family law, association law, hearing loss, business brokers, home care, along with many other topics. Now here are your hosts, Steve-O and Sophia.
Hey, good afternoon, Dallas. Welcome to another Ask the Expert show where we bring you the top experts in the field of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. You know, a lot of people don't think that we read all these emails that come in, but we read every single one of them. And there was one email, or I'm saying not just one, but there was a topic that we got so many people asking us about, and that is personal injury law, especially auto accident injury and slip and falls. And we found one of the top attorneys in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Let me introduce you to attorney Robert Slim. Good afternoon, attorney.
Hello, Steve. How are you?
Well, I think you all in Dallas sent us here in Florida all the rain, because we sure have it now. But I'm glad you're here. I'm so glad that we hooked up and that we could basically answer a lot of people's emails going, how come you don't have a show on personal injury? And we did our first show last month. You'll be back with us again next month. We're so excited to have you, Robert.
Well, I'm excited to be here. Thank you.
Tell everybody about your firm.
Well, my name is Robert Slim, and I have a solo practice here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I have an office here in Dallas, but I practice all over the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And I specialize in personal injury, mostly car accidents. I handle, some slip and falls and other injury claims, but I would say 90 to 95% of my practice is car wrecks and people who get injured in car wrecks. And I've been doing that in the Dallas-Fort Worth area since 1995 when I was first licensed as a young lawyer. And I worked for a firm for about 4 years or so and cut my teeth on that area of the law and went off on my own in 1999 and have been on my own since. So that's what I do. That's what I like to do. I find it very rewarding because what I'm doing is helping people. I'm helping people in a confusing time, a very confusing time, and dealing with very confusing issues. So that's what I do, is just help people get through the confusion of a personal injury claim if they ever find themselves involved in one.
I got to tell you, people, you never know when you're going to be in an accident, because it might not even be your fault at all. But exactly. I got to tell you, I learned a lot about personal injury law just from my fiance, who was hit from behind, stopped at a red light. They pulled over, exchanged information, and he said, I don't want you to report this to the police, even though she did. And come to find out, he didn't even have insurance.
Right. That's probably why he didn't want the police involved.
Exactly.
He didn't want to get a ticket. And, in some places they might even impound your car, but that's very rare. I mean, normally they just get a ticket.
Well, we're going to be talking about auto accidents today. First of all, it is so important that when a person's in an automobile accident, they hire somebody, especially if you're injured, to represent them, Robert, because if you try to do this yourself, you're going up against some very powerful insurance companies. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I compare it to bringing a knife to a gunfight. And that's exactly what you're doing. I mean, that's exactly what you're doing. You handle this yourself. You're inexperienced in this area, and you're going up against somebody who probably has 100 claims on their desk at that very moment. And they know what they're doing. And they know where the traps are. They know where the signals are that can, end up ruining your claim. And you end up having the most difficult time handling it on your own. And then 2-3 months down the road, when you realize you're in over your head, then you go out and try to find a lawyer. And it makes it even more difficult for you to find a lawyer then, because the lawyer knows that they got to spend so much time and maybe some money undoing everything you've done. And so it's just better to get a lawyer from the outset, get everything going in the right direction from the very beginning. And yes, it is extremely important, because it's a legal claim you're involved in. It's not an insurance claim. I don't want people to, when you're in a car wreck and when you're dealing with the other person's insurance, that insurance company is there to protect and defend their driver. And so when you're dealing with the insurance representative, you're involved in a legal claim. So don't be confused and think that you're dealing with an insurance claim, like if your house gets hit with hail or something and you need a new roof or something like that. That's an insurance claim that normally you can handle on your own. But when you're going up against another insurance company from a guy who hit you and hurt you, that's a legal claim. And you need to get legal representation. It's that simple.
Robert, I don't know how this happened, but I was on the internet before the show, and a lady was talking. She was an attorney. Now, I don't know what state she was in, but she said that 91% of automobile accidents end up settling. Is it that high?
Yes, it is. I mean, I would say that 91% of most legal disputes, whether they're car accidents or not, settle. It's very, if it didn't settle, I mean, the courthouses are crowded enough. So you can imagine if every case that gets filed, every dispute that anybody has doesn't get settled or resolved in one way, there's no way anybody would get to trial. We just don't have the tax dollars, manpower, or facilities to try every single case because two people have a legal dispute. Now, when it comes to car accidents, you're dealing with an insurance company. Insurance companies, they do look towards settling cases because a lot of times insurance companies don't want to take chances at trial. The only time an insurance company is going to take a chance at trial is if you have a really, really bad case, because insurance companies they only like to take calculated risks. They really don't like to take too many risks. And at the same time, if an insurance company has to take to trial every single case, every single claim they have, well, they don't have the manpower, money, or the ability to do that. It would be impossible for them to do that. So yes, the vast majority of cases do settle because it's just too expensive to try and take to court every single claim they have.
I don't remember if I discussed this last time. My son, who lives in Dallas, who thinks he is the top negotiator in the world. He's not an attorney. And his wife was in an accident. And instead of doing the smart thing and hiring an attorney, because he is the negotiator in his mind, decided to do it himself. And I'm going to tell you something. He will tell you today that he left so much money on the table by not having an attorney. He admitted it.
Yeah. Well, you use the term negotiation. It's really not a matter of negotiation. I like to say it's more a matter of presentation. you want to make sure that the claim is set up properly and presented in such a way that the insurance adjuster sees that the claim is very risky from their point of view. And so you want to present the claim in the best possible light in your favor. And so negotiation, yeah, there's some negotiation in it, but it's the real trick is presentation and making sure that the case is properly prepared, properly presented in a way that it demonstrates the highest value that you can get out of it. So you want to present it properly. And part of presenting it properly is not just demonstrating to the adjuster that you are injured, you have medical bills and such and so on and so forth. You also want to have the adjuster look at it from the standpoint that if a jury looks at this case, we've got some problems. So you want to present it in a legal fashion in a way that, you know, that the adjuster sees it as a risk if they go to trial or if they want to make this an extended legal dispute. So it's more a matter of presentation.
You know, I can see people are sitting here, they're going, because I introduced you as one of the top auto accident attorneys in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. They're going, I could never afford this attorney. Tell people how you are compensated.
Yeah, well, there's a misconception out there that attorneys get paid by the hour, and that's not a misconception. Lawyers do get paid by the hour, but personal injury attorneys don't. Personal injury attorneys, and I would say 99.9%, I've never met one that gets paid by the hour, but they are paid by what's called a contingency fee arrangement. And a contingency fee arrangement is just like what you hear on TV. We don't get paid unless you collect, or when we, if we win, then no fees unless we win, that kind of thing. So the lawyer enters into an agreement with the potential client, and the client signs a contract that says, we will agree that the lawyer will take a percentage of whatever is collected on the case. And typically that's a third, 1/3 of whatever's collected. And it could ratchet up to 40%. I've seen lawyers go up to 45 and 50%. My fee stops at 40%. And that's only, it ratchets up if the case goes into litigation, if a lawsuit's filed, because that requires a lot more work and upfront money on the attorney's part, more risk involved. And not only that, the case takes longer. So the fee does ratchet up. That's typically how they're paid. So for instance, if a case settles, I'm just going to use round numbers here. If a case settles for $3,000, 1/3 is $1,000. So the attorney gets paid $1,000. If the case settles for $9,000, well, 1/3 is $3,000. So that's how the attorney is paid. The attorney takes their fee off the top and then negotiates the medical bills and tries to net as much money in the client's pocket as they can. And that's typically how it works.
We're getting a text in from a listener who wants to know, do you handle cases in Fort Worth?
Yes. I handle cases all through Dallas, Fort Worth, the surrounding areas, Arlington, Grand Prairie, Plano, Rockwall, and, all of Tarrant County. And I've even handled cases out in Weatherford. I've handled cases as far as Tyler and Austin before. It just depends on the case, depends on what my caseload is like. But the Dallas-Fort Worth area is where I normally find my cases. And yes, Fort Worth, I do handle cases in Fort Worth, correct.
Does a person have to give a recorded statement to the insurance company in Texas?
Yes and no. It depends whose insurance you're dealing with. Now, if you're dealing with the other driver's insurance, let's give you an example. Let's say that you're involved in a collision at an intersection. You're going through a green light. Another guy comes through the intersection. Obviously, he's going to have the red light and collides with you. Now, you go and make a claim against the other person's insurance. The other person's insurance will call you, and then they will say, hey, I need to get your recorded statement. They may even go so far as to say that it's required. It is not required. And no, they don't have to give a recorded statement. And I normally advise my clients not to give a recorded statement because, when people speak casually to each other, that comes across differently on a recording. So what you say face to face or verbally with somebody may not reflect that same way in a recording. And so I always tell people, don't give a recorded statement just because you might say something wrong. You might say something get misinterpreted. You might be asked a question that you didn't quite understand. And next thing you know, you've just kind of stuck your foot in a bear trap. And it's going to take a lot for you to, get out of that. So I always say, don't give a recorded statement, because you don't have a requirement to give a recorded statement when it comes to the other person's insurance. Now, when you're dealing with your own insurance, yes, because now that is your insurance and you're bound by the insurance contract and policy that you took out with that company. And every policy I've ever seen says that you agree to submit to a recorded interview or recorded statement as part of the policy provisions. And so, yes, contractually, you may be required to give a recorded statement to your own insurance company. But my recommendation is that if you're asked to give a recorded statement on any case with any insurance company, my recommendation would be to say, I'm not in a position to do that right now. Politely excuse yourself from the call and call an attorney. All right. Let the attorney decide and work with you on the best way to attack that issue. But that's the answer to your question. No, you don't have to give a recorded statement when you're dealing with the other person's insurance. And I recommend that you do not give a recorded statement. As far as your insurance is concerned, you may have to give a recorded statement, but I don't recommend you do that before you would consult with an attorney first.
So we got a few letters from listeners wanting to know about insurance and what they should make sure that their insurance covers. Can you help us with that?
Okay, yeah, that's a good question, as a matter of fact. So there's different types of coverages that you have with your insurance. You just got to decide what's best for you. Now, the more coverage you get, the more expensive your policy is, but the more coverage you get, the more protection you have. Now, in Texas, you are required to carry liability insurance. Liability insurance is insurance that you carry to protect against others who you might damage or injure in an accident. So let's say in my previous example, you got a red light, you got an intersection collision. One person had the green light, one person had the red light. Let's say you're the person that ran the red light. Well, if you're the person that ran the red light, then your liability insurance will cover the claims being made against you. All right. Because now you're liable. So if you're liable, you have liability insurance. It protects you when you mess up. Okay. So that's what liability insurance is. And in Texas, the current requirement is that you have to carry $30,000 in liability coverage that covers $30,000 per person and $60,000 for any accident, the full accident. So if there are two or more people that are injured in your accident, then it'll cover up to $60,000 for any one accident, but no more than $30,000 for any one particular person. And that's on the bodily injury side. Then on the property damage, so if you damage somebody's car or you run through their fence and hit their house or whatever, you're required to carry a minimum of $25,000 in property damage liability. Okay, so that's what's required in Texas. Now you can get more coverage. You can get $100,000, $300,000, $500,000. You can get $1 million policy if you want it. Okay, it just depends on your particular financial situation and what you want to cover. I would say the more wealthy you are and the more properties you have and recreational vehicles and things like that, you probably want to make sure you got quite a bit of insurance to cover your assets. The next type of coverage that I'd like to talk about is what's called personal injury protection coverage. This is coverage you buy to cover your medical bills. It'll also cover up to 80% of your lost wages. In Texas, the minimum that an insurance company can write for personal injury protection is $2,500 per person. Now, that covers the people that are in your car. So if you're in an accident and they have medical bills, you and your passengers, they each get $2,500 in coverage for medical expenses and lost wages. You can buy more coverage. You can buy $5,000, $10,000. I've seen $25,000 in personal injury protection. It's also called PIP, PIP, personal injury protection. So that's another type of coverage you can buy if you want it. It does come in handy. It really does. Now, here's a type of coverage that I think is pretty important. Uninsured motorist coverage. If you get into an accident, with somebody, 1/5 of the drivers out there are driving around without the state minimum liability insurance. So if you get into an accident with them and they're at fault and they're not carrying that liability coverage that I talked about here at the very beginning, well, then you don't have any way to get compensated for your damages, because the guy who doesn't have insurance probably doesn't have insurance because they don't have money. So you're not going to get any money out of them. All right. So I say it's very important to carry what's called uninsured motorist coverage. And uninsured motorist coverage is exactly what it says. It says it will cover you under your own policy in the event you get into an accident with somebody else who's at fault but doesn't carry liability insurance. And then your insurance will then step in the shoes of the insurance that person was supposed to have. And you can buy uninsured motorist coverage in different amounts. The minimum in Texas is $30,000 per person, $60,000 per accident, $25,000 for property damages. You can buy $50,000, $100,000, whatever you want. But uninsured motorist coverage is always very handy. Also, uninsured motorist coverage also goes another step further. So let's say the other person did have insurance, but they had a minimum policy. But let's say you had a lot of medical bills. Let's say you had $20,000, $25,000, $30,000 in medical bills. Well, your claim is probably worth more than the $30,000 that other person's insurance had. So if you had uninsured motorist coverage, it'll cover you, not just if the person didn't have insurance, but also if the person didn't have enough insurance to cover the value of your claim. So your claim is worth more than $30,000, you know? So if your claim is worth $60,000, $70,000, $80,000, your uninsured motorist coverage will come in and it will cover the excess of what your claim is worth over and above what the other person's insurance is unable to cover. And that's called underinsured motorists. It's basically the same, it comes under the same coverage, uninsured, underinsured motorists. It all comes under the same coverage. So if you buy uninsured motorist coverage, then you have the benefit of both those situations.
You know, with the way the economy is, and I don't know how Texas is, but I know my auto insurance has doubled. I could see a lot of people out there not even being able to afford auto insurance, not having it. So I think it's really important that they do have that type of insurance if the other person's not covered.
Yeah, very important. Very important. Yeah. I always get it on my policies, and I always recommend people buy that insurance. Uninsured motorist coverages, it's pretty handy to have. It is. It's unfortunate it's unfortunate that there's so many people out there driving without insurance, but you want to make sure you're protected in case you do get hit by somebody who didn't have insurance.
Absolutely. You know, I got to tell you, this is one show that easily could be an hour. It's gone by so fast. Let's give everybody your telephone number and your website address.
Sure, absolutely. You know, if you're watching a video, my telephone number is down there in the scroll. Yes. But if you're not and you're watching by, you're listening only, then my telephone number is 214-321-8225. That's 214-321-8225. And I can be reached at that number anytime. And when you call that number, you'll either get me or my voicemail. And if you get my voicemail, I will call you back. Okay. And you can call that number anytime. When I'm in the office, of course it rings in the office. And if I'm not in the office, I have it forwarded to my cell phone. So I'm always happy to hear from potential clients, whether it's during business hours, after business hours, weekends, holidays, I don't care. You call that number, 214-321-8225. And my website, if you want to come to my website, It's rcslawfirm.com. So RCS is my initials, Robert C. Slim. rcslawfirm.com.
Robert will be back with us again next month. Robert, thank you so much. Great show today, and we'll see you again next month.
Appreciate it. Thank you,
Attorney
Steve.
Robert Slim. We're going to go to a real quick break. When we come back, we've got a great expert, a great show. We'll be right back.
And we are back with the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV with your hosts, Steve-O, Sophia, and their expert guests.
And we are back. This is the Ask the Expert show. We bring the finest experts in the field of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. This is another one of those shows that we got so many people asking us about, and we just did not have an opening. And when we finally got one, we were so lucky to find one of the greatest business brokers. The name of the company is Zoom Business Brokers. Do we have Sarah there?
Yes, I'm here.
Hi, Sarah.
Hi, Steve. How are you doing?
We're doing great. I'm so, you know what? We had a couple people contact us after your last show, which we gave them your phone number. But really, they were congratulating on having such a great show topic, because a lot of people don't know what a business broker does. And, you know this business. Tell people about your background and what a business broker does.
Sure. So I started as a mechanical engineer. I got my master in mechanical engineering. I got my MBA, and then I had 12 years of industrial experience, but I followed a passion and I ended up becoming a business broker, which business broker is like a real estate agent who sells a house, but we sell businesses. So whoever has any type of business and they want to sell, this is what we help them do.
Well, I got to tell you, I learned, Sarah, a long time ago, don't try to do this yourself. About 10 years ago, I had a business and it was like, I can do this. It's my company. I know it better than anybody else would. Sarah, it caused so many problems. I mean, just the fact that people would be calling my business and my employees would answer the phone, and, because you don't want to scare them away. And they go, what's this, a business? What is this? Someone's trying to buy your business? And there were so many, you'll know what this is. There were so many tire kickers that just wasted my time. And yes. I got to tell you, a friend of mine said, why don't you get a business broker? And I said, what is a business broker? But Oh my God, it was a difference in night and day. Now, the business broker didn't sell my business the next day, and I had to learn to be patient. But what a difference between trying to do it myself and getting someone like yourself to do it for me.
Sure. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
I had the same conversation. I'm selling a wholesale business. And yesterday, my client was very happy that, I was talking to a customer. I told them I want to sell. I said, what? What did you do? I said, maybe they want to buy my business. I said, no, you just don't realize that. We need to talk. We need to tell 10,000 people that we want to sell your business until 100 people look at your business. Between them, 10 people talk to you and 1 people put an offer. And you cannot go ahead and tell 10,000 people because you literally kill your business. If 10,000 people know that you want to sell your business, you lose a lot of customers, you lose a lot of, it's really, really dangerous. So that's why keeping that confidentiality when you want to sell the business is really key to selling the business successfully.
Something else I learned, you'll laugh at this too, but when it's your business, you've got this closeness. This is like your child. So sometimes you think it's worth a lot more and you put a price on it that you think is worth it. But, reality is it probably isn't. And that's one of the things that you do is you have a formula on what the business really is worth.
Yeah. So, one of the things that whenever I want to discuss the valuation with my clients, I have a slide that I show them and I tell them, look, the business is so many things for you. It's your legacy. It's how you were in the community for so many years. It's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of different things to a seller. But for a buyer, it's just a money-making machine. That's the only way. The first thing they look at your business is whether this machine will continue making the same amount of money that is making right now or not. So it starts here. That's really important for the sellers to understand. That's the way that we need to look at the business. That's how we come up with the valuation, or otherwise we cannot get it to the results that we need to get.
We had a few questions, and I didn't want to answer for you, so we gave your number. They wanted to know, do you do buying and selling of businesses?
So we don't buy or sell. We are intermediary between the buyers and sellers. Don't forget that.
But you represent both parties? I mean, do you represent people who are looking to buy businesses as well as people who want to sell their business?
So the market that we are in, usually the way that it works is that there are not that many great businesses to sell. That's why whenever we have a good business, we put it in the market, there are so many buyers who come forward and we eventually can sell the business. But for that reason, for a lot of experienced broker, it doesn't make sense to work with the buyers, if it makes sense. So, but literally a lot of times when we represent the seller and the buyers come in, we end up being a dual agent in smaller deals. In larger deals, a lot of them have their own representation, so we only represent the seller. But to represent only the seller, at least in our firm, it's not that common.
Gotcha. Now, I want to ask you this. What about manufacturing businesses? Are they harder to sell than other types of businesses?
Yeah, manufacturing businesses are one of the most complicated type of businesses that we sell. That's why not all of the business brokers touch manufacturing. A lot of times, a lot of things come in and break the deals. That's why it really is important to work with somebody who goes into all of the details and puts a platform that helps a business sell eventually. There are a lot of details that goes into selling a manufacturing business.
What are some of the key factors that make manufacturing businesses attractive to potential buyers?
So, first of all, as I explained for you, don't forget that it's a money-making machine. So everything starts from the financial as any other business, okay? But for manufacturing, having, increasing the sales every day, having good margins, and having a good cash flow, and also well-documented financials are the basis. I mean, there are a lot of good buyers for manufacturing businesses, but if you come and look at your business and you don't have them ready and they seem kind of shady, they just pass and go to another opportunity. That's why well-documented financials and having all of those parameters in place is the first important thing. But other than that, there are so many other aspects that is important. Like there are more than 20 different things that we consider whenever we want to evaluate a manufacturing business. We do a comprehensive valuation on the business. And let me tell you that sometimes we end up suggesting the owner that maybe it's not really the best time for you to sell the business. There are red flags that you need to work on for maybe 1, 2, 3 years to make your business ready for sale. For example, one of the important things is whether you have any kind of concentration in the customers for the business, except for some small situation like in aerospace or defense. Even they work with very large companies and they have long-term contracts. But other than that, most of the times the buyers do not like to see that you are selling mainly to one customer or two customer, or a lot of your sale is only in one industry. So not having concentration is one of the important things. A lot of times, if you are selling more than 50% of your product to one buyer, a lot of times it's a red flag and they just skip you. So there are like other stuff. The other stuff is like having state-of-the-art equipment. A lot of times when we are dealing with a 30, 40 years old company, over the years, now new machinery are coming into play, and they are still using those old machineries with lower efficiencies that are needing more like electricity, more manpower to run and produce something. And for a buyer, it's not feasible to buy that business because they don't want to pay all of those extra costs. So there are so many different things that goes together when we want to sell a manufacturing business.
Sarah, I love how knowledgeable you are. And I'm not trying to embarrass you at all, but you just won 2 awards from the IBBA.
Yeah, I know. So IBBA is the largest association of business brokers, and every year they have some awards to business brokers who have sold the most number of businesses and the highest value of businesses. And I was really blessed to get 2 of those awards this year, which was really, I work hard. Whenever I do something, I put everything I have, and I always have passion for whatever I do. So I really enjoyed, and it was a blessing.
Yes. And we should call you doctor, shouldn't we?
Maybe.
Well, listen, you earned it. Getting back to challenges that you have when it comes to these manufacturing businesses, how do you overcome them?
So a lot of times, I personally spend a lot of times talking about the logics. It's very important that you set a good foundation, especially with the sellers, because when they start working with us, they don't have any idea what they have in front of them. For most of the sellers, they only sell a business once in their life, so they have never done it before. That's why it's really important to give them a good expectation, a correct expectation of what they have in front of them. Like I always tell them, so these are the things that any buyer who comes in, it's kind of a question in their mind. So I work with them to come up with the correct answers from the beginning and be ready. So when they get those questions, one after the other, they don't get scared. So, and also those kind of expectations. For example, let me give you an example. In California, at least that I work, we have this situation that a lot of these successful manufacturing business owners, after a while, they buy the property that their business is in. And whenever the business has challenging days, what they do is that they subsidize the business using their own property. So they don't get the real rent from the business. Now, when it comes, we get to the time that we want to sell the business, what happens is that the business is not paying the market rent to the property, which is their another entity. So this simple number exchange has a tremendous effect on the valuation of the business. And if the broker doesn't catch that from the beginning and doesn't bring that into calculation of the values and give the seller like, okay, your business will sell at $5 million, but while it actually has to sell at $4 million because of that change in rent, then the seller has that expectation in their mind. And unfortunately, we have a situation that the number that goes to their minds from the beginning, they cannot get rid of it. So if they don't get a correct expectation from the beginning, they might wait a year, 2 years, and they really cannot sell because they were expecting to get that number. So
Right.
bringing all of this into consideration from the beginning and putting a good foundation is really necessary if we want to have a successful sale.
We just got a text message. I'm really enjoying the show. Do you deal in restaurant franchises?
I personally don't. I don't sell restaurants, but we have brokers who are expert in selling restaurant franchises. We have brokers who have been selling businesses for 25 years, and they are specialized in selling restaurant franchises, anything in that hospitality sector.
What's a good business with the way the economy is right now? What is a good business to go into?
So I always answer this question that good business for who? Because you could have the best type of business, but in my opinion, if you don't have enough passion and you cannot relate with the type of business, and because having a business means every morning you open your eyes, you need to be ready for another challenging day. Every day, another problem comes, whether from this side or that side. So if you are not really enjoying what you are doing, I doubt it that you can get it to anywhere that you make it successful. So that's the first thing I would consider for any person. But in any kind of economic downturn or upturn, that they always, service-based businesses are something that you can count on, because even if the economy goes down, if something breaks in your house, you always need somebody to fix it. So a lot of these service-based businesses, they escape any kind of problem. That's why what we are seeing right now is that some of these, even a janitorial business, for example, or some kind of, some other types of service businesses, they have a lot of buyers right now.
How do you identify or qualify potential buyers for manufacturing businesses?
Have in mind that for especially middle market manufacturing businesses, I can say that we have three main type of buyers. One group that we see are the managers or top managers of Fortune 500 employees, the ones that have been there for 15, 20 years. They have managed so many people, so many manufacturing facilities, and now they want to come up. They have some money in their 401k account and they have that much experience, and now they want to have their own business. Okay, so these are one type of buyers. The second group are equity firms, the ones that they want to buy a business, probably have it for a couple of years, make it a larger business and sell it and gain something in this between. And the third group are strategic buyers. Like, for example, anybody who is manufacturing something, they always buy from other companies and sell to other companies. So this kind of acquisition that you buy vertically from the people who you buy from or you sell from, that's kind of a strategic acquisition. Or horizontal acquisition, if you, for example, have the same type of business in another area and now you want to come to this area, or any type of complement products, something like that. These are other acquisitions that are strategic. The reason is that they have some resources that they can use when they buy that company. So for any type of these three groups, there are other buyers as well, but I would say these are the three main important parts. So for any part of these groups, we have different approaches that how we go about, considering whether an equity firm is a good buyer or whether this individual have enough experience. So it's a very, extensive approach that we have to consider them.
Gosh, in your business, confidentiality is really important. How do you handle that?
Yeah, that's really, really important, especially, in these type of businesses. When the competitors come in and want to get information, that's the most sensitive one. That's why we have a lot of, legal forms like NDAs that is, we always ask buyers to sign. We even talk to them. We make sure they are legitimate, they want to buy. And we put a lot of efforts to take care of those information and don't give it to a lot of people. If you look at our website, it was very interesting because one of our brokers had made somebody very angry because they didn't share the information with that person, but the broker didn't find that person, qualified. We need to make sure they are qualified as far as having enough cash and experience before we give them information, or otherwise we are not doing a good service for our clients. And sometimes, it makes some people mad, which we cannot do anything about it.
Sarah, this show, I cannot believe this show goes by so fast. Let's give everybody your phone number and your website.
Sure. My number is 949-426-5067. And our website is www.zoombusinessbrokers.com. If you look at our website, we have more than 11 full-time brokers, a couple of part-time, and each one of them, if you go to their profiles, you see they have extensive experience in different fields. So any type of business you have, you can just go there, check them, and find a broker who can help you.
Well, now it's not just Sarah Vaziri, it's now award-winning Sarah. Sarah, thank you so much. You'll be back again with us next month. This show could be an hour and still not be enough time. Have a wonderful week, and we'll see you again next month.
Sure. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thank you, Sarah. The name of the company is Zoom Business Brokers. That's Sarah Vaziri. What a great show. Anyway, that's it for us today. We'll be back again with you next week with more Ask the Experts.
Thanks for tuning in today to the Ask the Experts show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Tune in next week and every week to hear more from our experts on personal injury, insurance, air condition repairs, estate planning, Medicare, and many other topics in the areas of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. See you next week.